Right everybody, so welcome back to the channel. Been longer than I intended away from YouTube, but let's get into it. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do some weekly videos giving my high time frame, multi-time frame breakdown down to the lower time frames, 1 hour, M15 possibly, if we need more clarity there. So I'm going to do that weekly. It's going to give you a perspective of the direction and what I'm looking for over the week, and hopefully help you too. So how we get that long-term bias for our week, we start up here on the monthly, see if there's anything clear. Personally, on the monthly, don't have to do a lot of annotations here. So if we just look at the recent price action, right, what caused this bullish leg here? Okay, so you can see we mitigated this bullish imbalance here, right, mitigating this sell side liquidity there. Price ran into that, and you can see we had that bullish January onwards up until now. We've had this bullish run. You can see here this 0.5 area. This is the leg that I'm looking at, the dealing range. So from this low to this high here. So you can see we're very much in the premium, and we've been attracted to this imbalance area here. This is also an order block, but I haven't drawn it out just to stop the charts from being too messy. Right? We've slightly mitigated this imbalance. We've taken the buy side liquidity from above these highs here. We've also taken the buy side liquidity from these previous month's highs here. Okay, you can see where that X is, and we've got 8 days left of this month, and it's currently looking like a sweep, right? So that's why I've got this annotation here: price may seek out the discount imbalance. Right, so how I read this is we've created a bullish leg, buy side liquidity, pretty much a major high up here in this premium, and we may close as this high test candle. And I'm not saying we're going to seek this out immediately or anything, but it's a possibility over the next few months, maybe, just judging by this monthly chart here. Right, so it's an open imbalance and BPR down in this zone here that may attract price. So external liquidity taken, we may pull back to an internal imbalance again, right? So let's go down to the weekly. We'll see if the weekly agrees with the monthly. We'll also get some more detail. You can see how I'm reading price. I'll zoom out again just slightly. You can see we've made this high here, pulled back into this discount of this leg here from this low to this high, just to show you as an example, right? You can see that there, pulled back to a discount, mitigated it, respected this bullish imbalance here, this bullish PDA, and then we went on to create this dealing range from this low to this high, right? Creating a high above this high, and then we slowly pulled back and eventually respected this order block here. Right, so we have this order block here that price body respected, swept the sell side liquidity below these lows as well, but then the body overall respecting this order block. Okay, so you could draw your order block here. You could maybe use this one here because it may have stabbed into it. Either way, it doesn't matter. Price respected this zone here, and then we had that August sideways movement now into September, where price eventually continued this bullish order flow here, low, high, high, low, high, ultimately up here, and we broke into that 1.19 institutional round level. Okay, so we've closed that previous week to this week as a high test candle. So this analysis I'm doing is going to be way more advanced than my previous analysis that I was doing on my channel, because I was trying to make it simplistic, but I'm just going to give everything how I read price now. So buy side liquidity was taken here above this previous high, and then of course we've stabbed into this monthly imbalance here, right? All these institutional levels respected that ultimately last week. So the weekly, you could say, is giving early signs of a possible bearish move here, right, with this high test taking all the buy side liquidity above these highs. Okay, so we'll see how this week pans out. We'll see what the daily looks like, but we've still got that bullish order flow for now. Okay, this is what I believe to be the current dealing range from this low to this high. So we're obviously within the premium. There's no POIs here that I can see. We've stacked up sell side liquidity in a trend line. So if price was to go bearish, it's got nice targets to just easily go and take. So that's how I'm reading that price action here on the weekly. So if we read out this little annotation, the weekly looks neutral at the moment to me, with the buy side liquidity targets hit and this high test close. So possible bearish candle to form. So I'm just thinking of the next week, right after this high test candle, it was a bullish high test. We may form a bearish candle to maybe run for the sell side liquidity on the previous weekly low and the weeks before that, if we are to go bearish. Okay, so that's how I'm reading that. Nothing's set in stone. We are still bullish in structure, as you can see, right? High, 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 low, high, high. So price could go on to want to fill this imbalance. And if I zoom out again and just look over here on the weekly, you can see we have a weekly imbalance above. So price may actually need to go higher on the weekly chart as well. Anyway, I hope that's all clear. Okay, so when we get down to the daily, which is more the nitty gritty because we're day traders, I'm not going to be too concerned with the weekly, but if the weekly aligns with the daily, then we can have a strong indication of direction for the week, for the month maybe. So we'll see what's happening. Currently, I think the weekly is aligned with the monthly in terms of buy side liquidity rejecting these zones here, and this build up of sell side liquidity. We may head down for that, but we'll see if the daily agrees. All right, so now we're here on the daily. Don't let all of this confuse you. You can see this is where the main analysis comes into it, where we're reading the current trends for day trading. So you can see where we had this range pretty much form here on this daily chart, right? A lot more clearer. You could see those ranging candles on the weekly too. Bear this range in mind. I'm just gonna delete that. And you can see where price was kind of stuck within this zone here, right? Because this imbalance here and this imbalance here was kind of holding price, this bullish imbalance, which ended up winning, I guess. So we had this range, price spiked up, pulled down, respected this order block, then we got that higher confirmation pretty much here, right? So then price made this bullish leg, pulled back. We can see this OTE 0.62 to 0.79 was respected, imbalance, and we've got order blocks here as well. And the targets were then this high here, this buy side liquidity here, and ultimately this buy side liquidity here. And if price was going to continue being drawn, it would be towards this draw of liquidity on the monthly weekly time frame up here, right around this 1.19 zone. We're clearly in a bullish trend here on the daily, right, with high low, high high, high low, high high. So we've got now this clear dealing range, right, from this low to this high. We've pulled back now to the discount again, 0.62 to 0.79 OTE area. We've got that imbalance. We've got a clear order block here that created that bullish structure. So price so far is respecting this. Today on Monday, we look to be closing out as a bullish candle, which would give me a better bias for tomorrow, considering the daily, to possibly head towards this BPR here, this imbalance. Right, this blue imbalance means a bearish POI. So for me, the most immediate draw on liquidity is this imbalance here. So I think price should be attracted to this previous daily high imbalance area. But if I look at the structure that's still remaining here on the daily, it's bullish. So the daily is still indicating possible further bullish price action for now. Okay, like I said on the weekly, we haven't yet switched bearish, we just have early signs, but the daily itself is still giving an indication of bullish. So I'm more neutral on the weekly and monthly because it shows the signs after mitigating these POIs of going bearish. But on the daily, I'm not yet convinced. So the daily is bullish. So it doesn't agree with the weekly, so which would make it more powerful if it did. But as a day trader, I am going to follow the daily for now and just keep the weekly neutral until I see maybe a lower low on the daily. And then I would say that they're probably more likely aligned at that point. So we've got our POIs here, which are providing a good bullish base on the daily. Again, OTE, order block, and there's imbalance here currently being respected. We've got a draw on liquidity here, and then ultimately this buy side liquidity at the top here, because what does price do, right? In the bullish case, we create a bullish leg, we pull back into our dealing range, into the discount, right? So we pull back into an internal imbalance and we head for external liquidity. So if you look at how price moves, it always moves towards internal imbalances and then heads back out again for external liquidity. So higher time frame daily, possibly indicating a continuation of the bullish trend with bullish PDAs or POIs if you call them, and structure, right? And this daily candle here, closing bullish, could indicate continuation and respect of this area. I'm going to be very aware that the high time frame weekly, monthly may be obviously bearish, right? So I see this as an area of caution. I'm going to target this area, see how price behaves, because as I've got drawn here, we could pull up into this zone here, completely reject it, and that's where we see our bearish leg come in, breaking this swing low here that may be created tomorrow, right? And then that's when we'll have a bearish leg, bearish confirmation, or price is going to head for that external liquidity here. So I hope that is clear, right? That's how price moves, internal imbalances to external liquidity, whether it's bullish or bearish, right? So any questions, just let me know. So we'll drop down now to the 1 hour, skipping over the 4 hour because it doesn't look as good anyway, and the 1 hour is a bit clearer. You only really need to go to the 4 hour if you need some clarity on something, so we may need to do that shortly. So here's the 1 hour. You can see where the 1 hour has created this bearish trend here, right? This is a strong high. We've swept this buy side liquidity here, created a lower low. Now this high here, which just so happens to be that previous daily high, where that daily fair value gap draw of liquidity is here. It's also a BPR and imbalance here on the 1 hour chart, right? So I haven't drawn it in. I'm more concentrating on this previous daily highs buy side liquidity as a target for now. Okay, so we've got this sell side curve here pulling back down. We've got an order block around this zone here where you can see where it swept some liquidity, created a high. So this is a nice zone which is holding price. It also has SMC divergence. So if we look at DXY quickly, we have this high to a high, this low to a high low here. So SMC divergence or SMT, that indicates some strength on EU. You can see we've created that strength. We got that sweep of that previous low here during Asia, which isn't the best, but it worked out and we got that bullish leg. So I see this high here as that break of structure. The 1 hour is aligned with the daily so far. So this is the dealing range I have here on the 1 hour from this low here to this high. We could pull back into this discount area here, this equilibrium, right, after breaking this high. So this is what I want to see mainly for tomorrow. We'll see what we do overnight. We may pull back deeper, we may not, we'll have to see. So if we go up to the 4 hour, just for a moment, of course the 4 hour, which is also still bullish, right? We see these high highs, high lows, high highs. We do have a bit more of a bigger imbalance below. So I wouldn't be too afraid if on the 1 hour, we pull back a bit deeper than this imbalance here, because the 4 hour imbalance can still be respected. And we pull back into this. If price was to close within this, that would be nice. And then I think we can then start to head for this high, which if it doesn't take it today already as our first buy side liquidity for previous daily high, and then what would be the previous daily high here, where the daily fair value gap is as a draw on liquidity. So that's what I would like to see, and see how price treats this zone here. So in terms of a scenario, let's say this works out, price pulls back down into this zone here, creates that high, takes out all of this buy side liquidity. We could see something like this happen into this zone, then reevaluate price. Now price could of course go completely bearish from that. As we know from the daily chart, could respect this BPR here, and we start making our lower highs, lower lows towards this zone here, targeting this external liquidity, right, considering this leg. Or price may pull back and we may respect, we might create a POI around this zone here, and price may continue higher. And at that point, the daily would probably look like it's going to head higher and head for that external liquidity up here, deeper into that high time frame imbalance up there. So these are the scenarios that I'm thinking of, but in the short term for now, this is the scenario that I'm more predicting to see price just fulfill this thing here, come to this daily fair value gap, and then reevaluate where we're going for the rest of the week. Okay, because we're going to have a reaction off of this fair value gap most likely regardless. Okay, though we do have PMI this week, so price can either shoot through it or respect it and then go down. We'll see where that goes. Okay, so this is a good target for me, previous daily high in this zone here. We'll see if we can actually get any trades in tomorrow with all of the news. What I would like to see, I'm not going to go down to the execution timeframes, but we could go down to, you know, the M15 here. This is that 1 hour imbalance. It's also an imbalance here on the M15 with an order block. We might see price come down into this zone and just respect it And then on the execution timeframes, I'll be looking for some strong structure, preferably, right, where price does, I don't know, something like this, takes that low, breaks that high, then pulls back, then we can target up to this zone here. So if price creates some sort of consolidation around here, whether it be overnight, okay, and then price sweeps that liquidity down in this zone, this is the type of move I would be looking for price to tell me we want to head higher. So that's about as far as I'm willing to go down. I don't want to go down into execution timeframes trying to predict things, but this is what I would like to see from these 1 hour or M15 POIs to head higher, to go with that bullish daily outlook up into this daily draw on liquidity, and lower time frame draw on liquidity up here as well, this imbalance zone. And then, like I said, I'll be hands off, see how price reacts to any PDAs we create on the way. If we make it to this zone, it may take this buy side liquidity overnight and completely change this outlook, but the higher time frame outlook still remains, right, on the daily. The outlook for me still remains for us to come up above these highs here and use this BPR here, this imbalance, to, you know, either create a small pullback and continue going higher, or to continue going lower. So a bit of a long video, but I hope it was clear. Hope you enjoyed that. Any questions, just let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys soon.